with the accused of course being Ser Duncan the Tall, who is facing trial by combat in the form of a trial of 7. They are accompanied by their squires, while Baylor gives what is essentially the West.
To see you dead.
A clearly frightened Egg looks up at his new best friend, perhaps feeling partly responsible for Dunk, who is about to be fighting for his life, a reference to Baylor's brother May-Ka being on the opposing side of the trial. Egg looks up at Dunk, wanting to say something, but Dunk doesn't acknowledge him, likely because he needs to focus. He rides off without saying anything to Egg. At least that's what I assumed. Then, at the last second, he turns around and shares a wholesome moment with Egg, bringing up their previous conversation where he told Egg he better be there when he gets back, or he'll hunt him down. Which is the manly version of saying, "Love you, bro." Both sides head to their starting positions, all on horseback and carrying lances. A bright-eyed Dunk is clearly still feeling the nerves, and rightfully so. Remember, Dunk is nowhere near as experienced as his opponents, and the f***ing Kingsguard stands on the other side, along with multiple Targaryen princes. If Dunk and his team fail to defeat them, he dies. The trial begins, with both sides rushing forward on horseback, lances drawn. Everyone except Dunk, who is completely frozen. In the crowd, Egg yells repeatedly at him to go, knowing that the longer he hesitates, the more likely he is to lose the initial joust to an opponent already at full speed. Eventually, Dunk snaps out of it and rides off to face his fate. Aerion Targaryen, the accuser in this trial, and Dunk's opponent for the initial joust, strikes with a precise hit, his lance breaking off in Dunk's side. Dunk removes the lance, badly wounded, and turns to face Aerion, who has drawn his secondary weapon. Aerion strikes Dunk in the head. He dies instantly. The show and series end, fading to black. Oh, okay, so it's not over. Instead, it's a flashback. The scene opens with a young Duncan scavenging a battlefield in the aftermath of a battle. In the background, King's Landing is visible. Duncan attempts to show mercy to a badly wounded soldier, but is stopped by a girl named Rafe. The man dies shortly afterward anyway. Dunk and Rafe leave the battlefield after gathering supplies from the fallen, walking home while trying to avoid being caught with their loot. They talk about the war and whether its end truly makes it safe to remain in the city. Rafe encourages Dunk to run away with her, insisting that no war is ever truly over.
No one forgets shit. You hurt someone, they hurt you back.
She also mentions that their home is Flea Bottom, a slum outside of King's Landing, a place referenced and seen many times in the Game of Thrones series. The duo arrive back in the city, where many of the wounded are being treated in the dirty, rat-infested streets. The show does an excellent job of envisioning what a true slum would have looked like in this time period. Dunk and Rafe are confronted by a strange man who asks to see their bag, clearly aware of its contents and wanting it for himself. Taking advantage of a commotion, they manage to escape and later sell their looted gear to a local blacksmith. The two have another conversation about leaving or staying in Flea Bottom, with Dunk mentioning that he believes his mother might come back for him. The next morning, the two set off, ready to leave the city with the money they collected from scavenging. But not before Dunk affectionately pets his goat, essentially saying goodbye. The man who confronted them earlier is seen tracking them. Unfortunately for Dunk and Rafe, they don't have enough money due to rising prices, as many others are trying to leave the city after the war. Upon returning outside, Dunk and Rafe are once again confronted by the mysterious man. This time, he has a partner. Both have their weapons drawn, cornering them in an enclosed space. There is nowhere for them to run, and Rafe has her coin pouch stolen, essentially robbing them of any chance to escape the city. Rafe, who is quite the thief herself, thinks quickly and manages to quietly disarm the man before she and Dunk slip away. The man and his partner begin to walk off, but he soon reaches down and realizes his blade is gone. He immediately turns around, strides toward Rafe, and in a split second, snatches back the blade she stole. He presses it to her neck and slashes it open, blood spraying across a stunned walking away, only for Rafe to be killed instantly in one of the most brutal ways imaginable. Enraged, Dunk charges the man and jumps onto his back, even biting him in the neck. The man's partner, still armed with a spear, then stabs Dunk through the calf. Dunk, with all hope lost, injured, unarmed, and having just watched his only friend in the world be brutally murdered in front of him, is saved, at least momentarily, by Ser Alan of Pennytree, who quite literally comes out of nowhere to confront the men. After briefly projectile vomiting, Alan proceeds to utterly dismantle the two armed attackers in what can only be described as the fury of a drunken warrior with 99 strength. Despite saving his life, Ser Arlen walks away from Dunk without saying a word. Later, Dunk spots Ser Arlen in the streets as he is leaving the city. Taking Rafe's advice to heart, Dunk decides to leave Flea Bottom and follow the man who just saved his life. Badly injured, Dunk secretly trails Alan for days and nights, suffering through hunger and cold. From a distance, he listens as the drunken Ser Arlen sings in a mysterious language, which I believe to be Dothraki. Eventually, Ser Arlen notices him. By this point, Dunk has walked for days and miles without food while injured, and he collapses in front of Arlen, marking the beginning of their relationship. While I'm typically not a fan of flashback episodes, this one was exceptionally well done. The casting for young Duncan is perfect, and seeing Ser Arlen in action was the cherry on top. The flashback ends with Arlen telling Duncan to get up, which seamlessly transitions back into the Trial of Seven, where the semi-conscious Dunk gets back into the fight.
Get up!
The trial resumes with Dunk regaining consciousness, just as Aerion strikes a blow, which Dunk barely manages to dodge. With his left eye completely swollen shut, Dunk rises and continues his fight with Prince Aerion. It's a brutal struggle in a harsh environment. A cloudy, smoky sky looms and the combatants battle through thick mud. Unarmed and much larger, Dunk attempts to grapple with Aerion and finally gains the upper hand, mounting him and raining down blows. Aerion responds by drawing a blade, repeatedly stabbing Dunk through his chainmail. The entire time, Prince Egg watches intensely, hoping for his brother's demise at the hands of his new friend. The battle continues, with Dunk picking up a sword from the ground and engaging in a lengthy duel with Aerion. I have to give Aerion credit here. I wasn't sure if he would be a skilled fighter, but he performs very well, landing multiple near-fatal blows and even executing a throwing stab with his sword aimed at Dunk. Dunk responds with his biggest strike, cutting Aerion near the groin before collapsing himself, brutally wounded. Prince Aerion, believing he has won, calls for the trial to be concluded. In a truly Rocky-like moment, just as the horn is about to sound to signal the end, Dunk begins to rise, while Egg lets out one of the greatest yells in cinematic history. Dunk rises to his feet once again, and Aerion now looks defeated. Perhaps he believes that if Dunk can survive near death multiple times, the gods are declaring his innocence. This time, Dunk easily brings Aerion to the ground, repeatedly smashing his shield down on him. Nearing death, Aerion yields, and Dunk is officially declared the trial is over. Ser Duncan the Tall and the side of the accused are victorious. Dunk, clinging to life, collapses into Raymond and Steelypate's arms, and is brought into a chamber to tend to his wounds. Prince Baelor then appears, and Dunk throws himself at his feet, pledging his allegiance for life in gratitude for saving him. Baelor, ever stoic, tells Dunk that the realm needs men like him.
I need good men, Ser Duncan.
Baelor asks Raymond to help remove his helmet, and Raymond seems to sense that something is wrong. Pate assists him, and as they lift it free, their faces immediately turn to shock. Baelor, who had just mentioned that his brother Maeka had likely been the one to strike him during the trial, turns slightly, revealing that the back of his head is mortally wounded, half of it dead. And that concludes Episode 5 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. What an honor it was to watch this episode. I love this show, and truly enjoyed making this recap. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the episode, and what your favorite moment was. Thank you for watching, and R.I.P. Prince Baelor.